Hi friends! I have a super fun YouTube tutorial today where I'm going to be showing you how I painted this McDonald's, and I'm also going to show you throughout my 4-step process for creating any type of urban sketch, which is using pencil, pen, and then 2 layers of watercolor paint. First, I'm going to put a general block of where I want the building to sit on my page. I'm going to leave some room for sky at the top. So the corner of the building closest to us, it's going to be going further away. It's going to be pointing further down as it goes away from us. It's going to generally be this shape. Erase the lines you don't need so it doesn't get confusing. So here we have the general shape of the building. Now we're going to begin defining the sections of the building that we're going to draw. So first, let's define the general roof line on the right side of the building. So the roof line comes about halfway down the piece. So it's going to be about there. Then we have 3 shapes that we're going to want to fit in here. So we're going to we have a triangle shape into a square. Next to it, we have this fun pointy roof. Finally, we have this slanted roof line at the back of the building. So as you can see here, I messed up the proportions. This chunk should be bigger. So this is why pencil is useful. So we're gonna go in and erase this and then redraw this section. So now let's redraw this. So the point, as you can see, comes to higher than the roof line. Then we have 2 triangle shapes. 1, 2. Then it goes, the window underneath it is pointing out. Here's the roof line. And underneath the roof line, we have a door. We have the entrance to the McDonald's on the street. Put the general shape of your door. Then we have the McDonald's sign. We have a black line. I'm going to follow that. Let's leave a space for the McDonald's sign. We don't have to actually draw it in yet. Then we have 4 windows down here. There's an entrance over here with another door back here. Let's get the general shape of that. The door is going to be going in, it's offset from the street. Kind of sitting on this little patio thing. And then the rest of the building's going away from us. And we don't have to worry about adding too much detail here because I'm actually going to block in some trees on this side. So as you can see down here, the proportion of where the windows are to the street is not correct. These actually need to be a little bit higher up, so I'm going to shorten them. There we go. And let's move on to the left side. Okay, so for the left side, we have the roof lines going down away from us. Then we have this really funky shape of a little window up at the top. We're gonna trace that. These shapes are very funky, so it's okay if they're not 100% accurate. We're kind of just trying to get the general idea that there's a bunch of fun shapes going on here. Then we have this very iconically DC bay window component of the building. This is actually easier to draw than you would anticipate. It's really just 1 rectangle, 2 rectangle, 3 rectangle. And then the bottom portion of the rectangle is bigger. So we go 1 rectangle, expand the bottom, 1 rectangle, expand the bottom, and then this one's gonna go over. And then we can block in a general idea of where our window is gonna go, and then erase this right here. So that's the basic idea of the shapes in our building, and then we can fill in all of the little details that give the building character with pen. But before we get to that, I'm also going to add in some items around the building to give the drawing a little bit of character and fill in the scene a bit more. So first, let's do some trees on this side. With your pencil, literally just block in some like squiggly shapes that will tell you where the trees are going to go. That's all you have to do. Then over here, I want to draw a city pole that's going to have stoplights on it. So just use your reference photo as an example. Looks like there's 4 stoplights here on this one. And you can see in my reference photo, this was actually on top of the building, but I'm scooching it over a little bit because we have some room on this side of the drawing that we're going to want to fill up. And let's give the sidewalk a little bit more character. So we actually have a crossing, a sidewalk crossing right here. So we're going to drop that in. I love to draw a sidewalk crossing. And then let's do it on the other side too, to show you that we're in a city. And then let's block in where some people are going to be walking. So we're going to draw the eye line height of where some people are going to go. And then I'm going to draw some rectangles for where I want people walking. 1, 2, 3, I think is good. Let's see. Maybe we'll do one more person over here. One more set. Okay. And then let's look back at our drawing and see if there's anything that we missed. In Adams Morgan, there are some really fun roof lines around each side of the building, so I'm also going to draw in some super loose concepts of where the roof lines are going to go. So let's see, we have this fun building over here. Very DC. See how I'm just doing a super, super simple, I'm going to bring this down, idea of where roofs are going to go. Let's see, there's a little roof back here. Can do an idea of the building next door. And that's going to give a little bit more context to our scene. And then finally, we have 2 little roof awnings. I'm going to block in where those are going to go. This is actually a lot smaller. Okay, and that's it. So that's where I'm going to stop with pencil. You don't want to spend too much time on the pencil sketch itself because it can be really time consuming to draw the entire piece fully in pencil and then go over the whole thing fully in pen. And you really don't need that. I essentially use pencil to figure out the perspective and composition. And then I go in with pen and I add in all of the little details that give a piece character. So like windows, people, signage, textures of buildings, that type of thing. So this is exactly where we're going to stop and switch to pen. Okay, so I'm going to work left to right in this piece. But first, I'm going to start with the items in the foreground. So let's start with this light pole. So in my reference photo, there's 4 lights, but I'm liking how it's looking with just 3, so I'm just gonna leave 3. Adding in the street signs. We have 18th Street, another street sign going this way, and then the pole itself goes up like this. Add some lines between where the street's signs and lights connect to the pole. The pole goes down to the curb. Maybe it has another sign down here. Then we have a lamp. The lamp's going left in the frame, but I want it to go right, so I'm gonna switch it to go to the right. So it's gonna hang over our subject matter. Nice city lamp. There we go. And now let's go to the right side. We have some items over here in the foreground. So here we have some trees. So let's do the tree trunks first. And for the actual tree itself, I'm literally just gonna do some super impressionistic loose lines of a tree. And same thing with the tree behind it. Usually trees have these kind of little planter things that they're sitting in on the street. All right, let's do the sidewalk. So the sidewalk is going down and around, and away from us is the viewer who's standing right here. As you can see, I'm intentionally making the lines super like scratchy and wiggly. I don't want it to look too perfect because in a city environment, there's almost no like super straight lines. Everything's kind of like lived in, wiggly. And if you don't use super straight lines, it's going to make it feel more hand-drawn. It's gonna make it feel more personal and less stuffy. So here, just do your scratchy lines. Just be loose, just have fun when you're putting your lines in. And yeah, that's about it. So I'm just kind of leaving my pen on paper as I go. And now we have our crosswalks down. And now I'm going to draw in a few examples of people here just walking around, and that's gonna give the scene a little bit more context that we're in a city. Let's have one guy kind of looking away. Maybe he's wearing a backpack. He's facing the McDonald's. Maybe he's thinking about going inside, getting a little snack. Give him some hair. That's it. Leave it super loose. Let's have a lady over here. Maybe she's wearing a little jacket. I think it'd be so cute if she had like a little kid she's walking with. So gonna do a little kid. Okay, we have 2 people over there. Let's add one more, just for fun. These people are far away, so we're making them very tiny. Now let's do 2 girls walking into the McDonald's. So I'm gonna do a girl with a braid. Maybe she has like a long coat on because it's winter time with a little purse strapped to her. I love wintertime clothes because they're so easy to draw. We'll give her some little shoes. And then let's do one more person next to her. I feel like they should be wearing like a fun little winter hat. And let's give them a hood. They're walking next to her. Gonna give some polka dots on their jacket. Yay, so cute. Okay, so now we have some people in our scene to give it some more context. Okay, so starting with this kind of funky roof line that we have at the top, I'm gonna do my best to just follow the shapes that I see with my eye. And I'm really kind of trying to keep it loose. We have 2 windows here. And see how I'm not lifting at my pen that much as I'm drawing. Let's add some texture to the roof with some little fun shingles. This building has these really cool roofs that I want to draw attention to. They feel shingled in a way where they feel almost like an old European building. I think it's so funny that this McDonald's is in like a Tudor revival style building here in DC. It really cracks me up. Okay, this roof line's coming down. So let's do this here to give ourselves an idea of where the roof is going behind the side that we're working on. I see a little kind of like mini window back here. Okay. The roof line is good. Now we're gonna draw this very fun and funky bay window situation. But I think first I'm gonna start with the door because this is gonna be a major focus area. So before we actually move to the bay window, let's go down here. Let's do the shape. Make sure we nail the shape of this first. So this is the shape of where the door is gonna go. It has this little like awning thing I'm seeing. And then the actual door itself has 2 doors. They're very dark, so I'm gonna add some cross hatching. And there's probably some kind of like step up, yep. And then there's some little shapes in here we don't want to forget to add. Okay, now that we have that, let's move on to the bay window. So this first chunk is going backwards. Now it's gonna go almost parallel to us as the viewer on the street. Then it's gonna go very pointedly away from us. Okay, and then the top section of it is a bit thinner in each of these rectangles. So it's gonna go about like this, like that, and like that. So now we have the shape, so let's fill in those details. So each of the roof lines has 2 lines at the top, it looks like. And then we have another set of lines going across like this. Looks like we have a little drainage pipe, so definitely gonna add that in because that's giving it the atmosphere of this being a real used building. And let's see, honestly, I think that this roof line goes down further. So let's just carry it down further and pretend like we actually drew it further the first time. Nice. It's okay if there's some overlapping lines that aren't correct because it's giving it more of an illustrative vibe. Okay, there's a McDonald's sign here that has the McDonald's M on it. Then we have a window here. And this is another example of this building being like Tudor revival. It has these fun little crosses, X's on the windows. We have another window on this side. Okay, and yeah, there's no window on this side, so we're gonna leave that. There is kind of a little like, I don't know what this is, maybe a grate, so I'm gonna draw a grate here. Okay, now moving down here, we have these roof lines, the second set of lines going across like this towards the front. We have a wider window on this bottom section, and it looks like there's only a line across it. And then we have 3 skinny windows over here on this side. Then a bigger window on there. And oh my goodness, we cannot forget the McDonald's M on this side. There we go. And we have a little kind of rectangle section peeking out up here. All right, and that's it. We don't want to overwork it, so let's leave it as that. And also you'll notice here around the people, I didn't actually draw lines of the building connecting directly to the people because we want them to stand out and note that they're not in the building, they're in front of it. So leave some white space around them. Okay, now we're gonna move on to the right side of the building. So let's see, where do we want to start? I think we should start with the three big shapes because these are really important in the perspective of this piece. So let's connect this roof line here. Let's start with the bay window. The shape of it is like this. It's going away from us. And then we have 1, 2, 3. And then the roof's gonna go in like this and connect to that. Then we have pointy roof, which goes back here. It's gonna go down. And gonna connect all the way back down to this black roof line in a triangle shape. Okay, now let's move on to this one. We have a roof line that connects here. It goes all the way up to the top of the building. And then it just goes straight down behind the bay window. And then we have a little tiny window poking out here that's very cute. So we're gonna draw this slanted roof line, and that's gonna be in the shape of a triangle. And now let's fill in these details. Okay, let's start with the first one. So we have this, it has these fun little shingles at the top. And then we gotta draw our little wavy, curly, European style roof shingles. Very funny. Now let's further define this roof pitch. It's gonna be dark as it is in our reference photo, so make sure that sticks out. We have this like little slit window. Next we have, let's see, we have a window shape that's gonna be something like this. And then there's 3 windows inside of it. 1, 2, 3. Let's give those some of those little Tudor cross hatches in the windows. And then there's also this little like arched roof situation. Okay, now let's do the bay window chunk. So there's this really fun little like thing on top of the roof, so I'm gonna draw that. Gonna further define the edges of the roof. Little shingles. Okay, now we go in, we add our squiggly shingles. Let's put those in there. Okay, now let's do the details in here. So we have this rectangle that goes across that's gonna sit underneath the window. Little rectangles here at the bottom. We have some bigger windows. We have 1 on each side. And some little rectangles on either side of the building, or of the windows. Then finally over here for the bay window, let's see. Let's define our roof line again. There's some fun little stripies on this side. And then we have 2 windows inside here poking out. And then 2 windows here. Ooh, you know what else is fun here is we have these really cute little pointy things coming down from the roofs. So let's make sure we draw those in. And we have a kind of a thicker like point between the roof sections here. So let's draw that. Define the roof line. And then fill in your shingles. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, now moving over, let's finish the left side of our roof line here. So let's get this little guy in. You have just like a little tiny, cute window peeping out. Just one little window, and it has this like sloping corner edge to it. Now let's do the top of the roof. So to start, not at the top of this, we want it to kind of come down from the left edge. And this roof line has these like rectangular pieces up at the top. And it also has little tiny bulbs poking out that give the roof line a lot of really pretty definition. This is a very pretty McDonald's. And finally, this roof line is going to come down. Boop, it's going to poke out like this. And then we're going to put those little fun details down there. Nice. Okay, and then now we're going to fill in all of this with our little loopy shingles. You can go fast with these. Does not have to be perfect. They really don't have to be in perfect lines. If anything, making them all kind of like differently shaped and different levels of overlapping makes the building feel old and historic and like it's been shifting and moving throughout the years, which I love. Feels like a living thing. All right. Okay, now let's move on to the bottom of the piece. Here, let's fill in the rest of the McDonald's. So let's do where the road is going to be hitting the building. So we have these like pole things holding the building up, and underneath it, there's a little section sticking out where there's actually another entrance to the McDonald's. You can just keep this super loose and sketchy. It doesn't have to be like too much detail. I'll put some little signs on the door in here. Okay, now let's do the windows. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and see how I'm leaving some space around this guy? And then we're gonna draw the line going underneath the windows. Okay, now over here on this side, let's do just like a general line. It looks like there's like some kind of signs over here. Just so making like some loose rectangle shapes. This isn't the focus, so you don't have to worry too much about that. And we have some little little details, like little lights kind of sticking out. There's some little signs over here, some little signs over here. Oh, we have another McDonald's sign up here sticking out over the street. Very cute. And another light over here. Adding in all of these just like extraneous, like kind of little shapes and stuff is giving the building more character. It's making it feel more real. Right now I'm just adding some little almost like scratchy brick shapes, little scratchy like chicken scratch window shapes. Not window shapes, chicken scratch like textures onto the building. Let's do the background. So behind the McDonald's, there's like a little rectangular shape back there. Then the McDonald's connects to this little building that has a very iconic DC roof line. So I want to include that. I'm doing super loose and filling in only the outline. And same thing over here. We have a general shape of like some kind of other building going on over here. Doesn't have to be like super accurate actually. If you could just draw some like general rectangular shapes, it gives you the idea that there's more city back here. Next, I'm gonna add a hand-drawn border because I like the look of that, and I'm gonna make it super wiggly. Making it very chicken scratchy, leaving little dots, little lines. Want it to feel really hand-drawn, very illustrative, very cartoony. Okay, now the part that I am going to take a little bit more time to get right is the McDonald's sign here. So I'm switching back to pencil for this. So now I'm just going to sketch out the name McDonald's. Okay, that looks fine. So now I'm just going to go in with pen. Finally, I think I'm gonna add just like a few little lines on the sidewalk. I don't know, I just kind of feel like this gives it a little bit more character. All right, and that's it for the pen drawing. So now let's take a break and we'll add paint. So for the supplies, I'm using my refillable watercolor palette that has Windsor and Newton Cotman watercolors in it, and I'll tell you the colors as I go. I'm also going to be using this other mini palette that I have that is Koi watercolors. So I have some Koi watercolors in here, and then I have some German watercolors here that I bought in Berlin. And then for brushes, I keep it super simple. I use one large round watercolor brush, traditional type of brush, not water brush. And then one fine liner, and that's it. Okay, so before I begin painting, I always pick a direction that the sun is going to be coming from in this painting, and that's going to inform the colors that we pick and where we place them. So I'm going to pretend like the sun's coming this way in the painting, so everything facing the sun is going to be more warm toned and brighter, and then everything that's going away from the sun is going to be cooler toned. So since the sun is on this side, I'm gonna actually start with a mix of yellow and burnt sienna. And I'm just gonna begin popping that on, leaving white space, but also making sure to just use a ton of water, let everything get wet and blend in together. Then moving directly to the next side of the painting, blending into a darker brown color. This is burnt sienna. The parts facing the sun are going to be lighter. This is going to be yellow, this is going to be lighter, probably. Mixing brown with Payne's gray for the parts that are more shadowed, more cool toned and away from the sun. And then we have this really nice variation in color going on throughout the building. So let's mix a bit of Payne's gray and burnt sienna for the roof color. Creates that really nice dark brown. That's gonna go along some of these roof lines. Use your reference photo if you're not sure where to place it. See, it's covering the windows over here. Brown roof line here. And then let's grab just Payne's gray for this line that goes across the building. Same thing for the one down here. Now, the roof is this really beautiful orange color, and I want to do the same thing. I'm going to add variation of color to the roof. So let's do orange mixed with yellow for the parts that are facing more towards the sun. And then we'll just do cadmium red for the rest of the roof. So let's start with orange mixed with yellow facing the sun. Oh, that's a gorgeous color. Wow, I love that. So it's gonna be more bright orange towards like the tops of the roof where the sun can touch the roof and where it's facing the sun. And then it's gonna be more red as the roof gets a bit cooler and moves away from the sun. I'm also mixing in alizarin crimson here in some of the darker parts of the roof to really bump up the contrast. Gorgeous. Okay, and then let's just do like a light wash of yellow along this sunny side of the sidewalk. And then drag Payne's gray down to the other side. For the street, we're gonna do a super light wash of Payne's gray mixed with aquamarine blue. Leave some white space, doesn't need to all be filled in. Beautiful. And then let's see. I also want to do the sky while the building's wet so we can bring some of the colors up into the sky. But I'm noticing we're having a lot of like earthy colors in here, and I think it'd be nice to add some brightness to the painting. So I'm getting some of my cerulean blue, this super gorgeous, crispy light blue. It also reminds me of like a really beautiful winter day. So it's very seasonal, so I love that. So I'm getting a bunch of this, mixing with a ton of water, and then we're just going to blob it into the sky. Let's do a blob here. That's perfect. And then we want it to blend in with the like water of the buildings too. I feel like it just creates such a cool look. The color of the buildings. So kind of mush your color down towards the buildings and let the water blend the colors up together. And don't fill in the whole sky. We want to leave some white space. Okay, now next let's do the trees down here. So I've got yellow, cadmium yellow that I'm mixing here. Left side of the tree is facing the sun, so it's going to be more yellow. And then let's do green on the right side. Let's do leaf green on the first tree, and then let's do viridian green mixed with yellow on the left side for some contrast. And then you can just kind of pull down some colors for the trunks. All right, and then now let's grab our fine liner brush. Grab some viridian green with your fine liner brush. And we're gonna do this light post over here. So just following the shape of the light post. Very nice. That's adding some really pretty color to this side of the piece. And I'm gonna use this like leafy sap green for the actual street signs. Ah, it's so pretty. And also for that lamp, green. And for this lamp, I'll do yellow. So cute. Okay, now we're gonna let this layer dry, and then we're gonna go back on top with another layer of watercolor. Okay, now we're gonna add some final details with our fine liner brush. So let's start with cadmium red. I really want to punch up the roof line. So I'm dragging this along the top of the roof line. I'm gonna put it here on the parts facing the sun. I'm also gonna just do some like highlight some random shingles in Cad Red. Now I'm gonna do the same thing with the alizarin crimson. Getting this on my fine liner brush. Let's bump up the contrast on some of these roof lines that are in the shade. Let's do that down here. Can't forget the roof on this side. Okay, now we're gonna take Payne's Gray. We're gonna go in and add some more contrast throughout the building. So let's start with this. Make sure you have a nice thick amount of Payne's gray as well. We're really going in for contrast. So let's go around the windows. We're kind of trying to peel back out some of the detail. And you don't have to worry, again, about it looking exactly like the reference photo. Use your own artistic intuition to give you an idea of where you want to add a little bit of contrast. I think windows are always a good spot. Let's do the roof line. We want to differentiate where the bay window is kind of sticking out. We have this like awning down here. I'm gonna mix in Payne's gray with aquamarine blue and do like an ombre effect. Ooh, that's pretty. And then I'm gonna do aquamarine blue on some of these windows that are away from the sun. And cerulean blue on some of the windows higher up in the piece that maybe are getting a little bit more sunlight, and those facing the left side of the building. This is adding just a little bit more variety to our piece. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Now, I think it would be nice to add some bright colors to these people down here and make them pop against the background. So I'm gonna do orange. Let's grab some orange here. Wanna make sure all of the colors for the people are super high contrasted. Let's give him orange pants, little orange outfits. Let's do bright yellow for her outfit, and then let's also do bright yellow up here. I also think I kind of want to add more yellow to this tree to increase the contrast over here. Oh, that helped a ton. Wow, that's crazy. See how much it's helped this tree pop off of the background? Here, let's give him red pants. Red, red. See, maybe a matching little red hat. Oh, so cute. Now I want to do blue, I think. Actually, no, I want to do leaf green. Gonna do a little leaf green jacket. Little leaf green jacket and leaf green pants. Very cute. For the people, by the way, I'm like pulling colors from the rest of the painting. That's gonna help give the whole thing like some color cohesion. So I'm gonna mix aquamarine blue with purple violet to create this really nice, pretty shadow color. And we're gonna put it everywhere that we know there's shadow. So first, we know there's shadow underneath this awning, right? Obviously the awning's not in the shade. I'm gonna drag it along the edge of the sidewalk to differentiate the building from the sidewalk. Okay, so if we're saying the sun's coming this way, that means there's gonna be a shadow coming off of some of these people who are standing here. And same thing with the trees, and also same thing with the light pole. There's also gonna be a bit of a shadow underneath where the street connects to the sidewalk. And I also think I'm gonna go back into the building, mix orange and yellow, and add some highlights just to like punch it up a little bit. So let's add yellow to the M the McDonald's M. Let's add some yellow onto this light over here. Let's do some like little yellow lines on the building itself. This is like adding in a little bit of McDonald's colors throughout the building, which aren't actually present in the actual brick, but I don't know, I feel like some yellow is gonna look really nice on this piece, so let's add some yellow. The McDonald's sign itself is white, but I feel like it'd be cute to add yellow around the white, so I'm gonna do that. See how this is like really just making the whole thing a bit more cheerful? I think I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow like in some of the window panes. So cute. Oh, I'm also gonna bring shadow underneath the roof lines up here, which I did not do the first time. So I'm just gonna grab that with my fine liner. There we go. Adding some dimension to the roof. Boop, boop, boop. I think a lot of times people are afraid to add shadow because they don't want to ruin a painting, but in my opinion, like a lack of shadow always ruins a piece, and shadow only ever makes it look and feel more real, so don't be afraid of shadow. I think I'm also gonna mix blue, aquamarine blue, and Payne's gray, and add a little bit more contrast down here to the crosswalks. I think that would look really pretty. Just to show you that there's a crosswalk here. So I'm just adding it underneath some of these lines. It's honestly not looking that blue, but that's okay too. Yeah, that's looking really pretty. That's just adding like a little bit more definition to the crosswalk. So that's basically my entire process. And this is the process that I use for every single one of the paintings that I do. So hope you had fun following along this tutorial, and thank you so much for watching.